Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. Now, this episode is going to hit deep for many. It certainly did for me. It is an episode about divorce. When I went through my divorce and I was grappling with all the changes and all the transitions and really the dissolution of my fantasy marriage, I remember feeling panic-stricken, not just for myself or my ex, but mainly for my child. How was she going to navigate through these turbulences? How was she going to manage through the emotional storm of this change? I cannot tell you how many sleepless nights I endured worrying about her. I then, through an intensive journey of empowerment, transformation, and healing, learned some amazing life lessons that I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode. Coming up next, a mother who is going through a divorce and is struggling with how this will affect her 16-year-old nonverbal autistic son. Emotional transitions are never easy on us or our children. Leave alone a divorce or any kind of separation or conflict that we experience with our partner. We worry about the effect this has on our children. It's hard enough on us, and we imagine how hard it must be on our children. Joining me now is Edeline, who is currently going through a divorce, and she's so worried about how this is affecting her 16-year-old nonverbal autistic son. Hi, Edeline. Thank you for joining us. Tell us what your worries are.
Hi, Dr. Shefali. Thank you for having me. I'm going through a divorce. We're currently separated, and it has been a few years. My son, Diego, he is 16, autistic and non-speaking. It is difficult for him to express himself because of that. So we use a letter board for him when he can spell out responses, although it's not fully like you and I who can speak. And lately, my son, Diego, has been having more frustration, more anger, having more behaviors at school with his new one-on-one aide. So it's been a difficult journey to navigate with him because I can't always understand what he's going through emotionally because he can't express it. So I'm always feeling anxiety about how to support him.
So whenever our children are experiencing struggle, even the most verbal children, they have a hard time expressing it. So just know that this is something so common that so many parents, struggle with, like, what is my child trying to say to me? Now add in his nonverbal autism and you have an extra sensitive issue. And because he's nonverbal, I can only imagine, and I'm projecting, that he is picking up your energetic vibe, your emotional state even more. Do you find that he's tuned into your emotional state even more than perhaps a more verbal person would be?
I do think he can pick up my energy, and he is very protective of me, even when he can spell out his thoughts. So he's once said, Mom is depressed, and that really surprised me.
So let's go there, because our children are our mirrors to all that we have not yet healed. I always tell parents that you think you're masking your feelings, or you think that your persona out in the world is the one that your children see. But nope, our children pick up our emotional energy. He's picking up something, and that's what's making him the most agitated. His caregiver, his love of his life, you are it for him, I can imagine. That caregiver is going through an emotional crisis, and he is agitated and frustrated because he doesn't know how to help you. But he's picking up on your vibe. That's what our children do. So, Mommy, how are you feeling about this divorce? If you're really honest, bare, naked truth.
Well, it is a devastating life event, right? It's something you don't imagine or dream of happening. And thankfully, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I are amicable, and we co-parent really well. But I think the part that's really difficult for me is now not having a partner in the house and my son getting older. And I have these anxieties about my son's future, about Diego's future, because he does need quite a bit of support one-on-one for the rest of his life. So now I'm by myself as a single parent, mostly with him. He does go with his father during the weekends, but now I am trying to navigate this by myself and increasingly more fearful about his future and me not being able to be there when I'm not on this planet anymore. And I'm not able to protect him. Yeah. So I'm scared about that.
Oh my goodness. I just feel for you and I understand. I empathize. This is what all of us parents, even the neurotypical parents of, children who are neurotypical, we feel that. So imagine what parents of neurodiverse children feel like you, and the stress level, the anxiety of how he will be when you die. But here's the thing. That stress level is affecting his present moment. So that stress level about the future is directly causing him this chaos inside him that he cannot control. And that's actually taking off years of yours and his life. So yes, we're worried about preserving his future well-being and caretaking for him in the future. That's legitimate. But what about taking off years of our life right now? So this stress is dampening and killing his spirit right now. So I really encourage you, although it is so difficult, to remember that, okay? Every time you find yourself going into the future and spiraling down that chaotic hill of what'll happen, and you're hurtling down that slope, I want you to pause. You're good at this. I know you've had a lot of practice being present. That's what your child has taught you. I know it. I see it in your face. So enter the present moment. Calm yourself down. Remember, you are here now. You are in the time zone of the present. You're not in the time zone of the past or the future. So this is what's happening to you. You are regretting or feeling nostalgic about a marriage you are losing. So you're in the time zone of the past. Then automatically the pendulum swings to being nervous about the future. Now you're in the time zone of the future. And this seesaw, this pendulum going back and forth from past to future is killing the spirit of mommy and the child. So do you see how your mind is on the seesaw pendulum, back and forth, past and future? But let me tell all listeners out there, this is a chronic habit of us parents, of humans. We live in the past. We're constantly cogitating about all the things we should have done better and why didn't we know better and if we could go back and rewind the clock. So you're doing that for your marriage. You're not reconciling that everything comes to an end. Everything is impermanent. That was a chapter. The chapter has ended. Nope, you're still in that part of the book and you're refusing to come to the end of that chapter. You're resisting the end of that chapter and you have pain. Now I understand the pain, but you're also not allowing the reality to sit in. And then the next thing your mind does is, oh my God, what'll I do about his future? What'll I do in the future all alone? And what'll he do all alone? Well, this is a recipe for so much stress. And I see you're becoming emotional because it is a burden you've been carrying, haven't you?
Yes. Yes. It's weighing very heavily on me. And I want to think about the present. It's hard to do, but I know I need to. What you're saying is really hitting me. So I appreciate it. Oh, it's hard.
It's very hard. And as parents, our well-being is so enmeshed with our children's well-being. And every parent wonders what will happen to their children when they are no longer here. You have it times X because of his unique neurodiverse issues. So I feel for you, and everyone listening right now, I'm sure, is feeling your pain and realizing how difficult it is as parents to carry this burden of our children's well-being. So when things feel uncontrollable like this, I often tell myself and parents, all we can do is focus on what we can control. And we have to let go of all the things we cannot control. Yes. I mean, I hate to say this, but this is how I live. I often remind myself, Shefali, you could die in 2 hours. What are you talking about 10 years? So what can I control right now? I can put some pieces in place for his future. I can put some money in place. I can talk to some trusted friends of mine to make sure that they will look out for him, maybe an army of people. But then I need to let it go because I cannot control what happens to people after I die. I cannot control who comes to my funeral. I cannot control how people will think about me when I die. So I put a few pieces in place. I put the will in place. I put some strong surrogate support in place. But then I come into the present moment. And that I can control. I can give him a foundation of emotional support right now. So this is what I often tell parents and myself, and I'm going to offer it to you. If I feel like when I die, he's going to be minus 100 emotional support, I tell myself and parents, oh, okay, then I will multiply my emotional support in the present moment. So I times it by 1,000 right here, right now. I'm building the foundation of my child's emotional support. I keep telling myself that. So every moment when you look at Diego, instead of being in the past and in the low vibe energy of regret, of grief, which he is picking up on, or the future-based anxiety of, oh my goodness, what will he do without me? I want you to enter the present and think to yourself, how can I build his emotional support right now? And you up that level, you up the ante times 100, and you begin filling that emotional bank so that when, and it will happen, that some life event will be unpredictable and take him or you, of course. That is going to happen. Look, the divorce happened. Yes. So no matter how we try to control our lives, the shit is going to hit the fan, okay? So what do we need when that happens? Do we need to be resistant? Do we need to be tantrumy? Do we need to be crippled and crumbled on the floor? Or do we need resilience? So this is what you are in control of now, building his resilience right now. But that means mommy has to shift in her belief systems, right? You have to shift. So can I offer you 2 things that you need to work on to shift in?
Yes, please.
Number 1, that your marriage was supposed to last forever. That he owed you longevity, or the marriage owed you something. That is a myth. I know that's painful. And for everyone listening who may be going through a rocky time in their marriage, this hits our core belief. Because you see, we were raised to believe that the institution of marriage is forever. And that is a myth. Well, if it's any consolation to you, I too went through a divorce, and it was so hard to let go the fantasy. So I know where you are right now. But the moment I made peace with the realization, with the wisdom that it was a beautiful time in my life, it was perfect as it was, and it wasn't meant to be the whole book. It was meant to be a chapter. I really made peace with it. And didn't look at it as a failure, but looked at it as a beautiful adventure that had its own different end compared to what culture says it needs to be.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
So can you work on releasing that fairy tale?
Yes, I can. And I love what you said about there was a purpose and a place for that time. And it was a beautiful marriage. And so I can find closure in that.
Yes, finding closure and surrendering to the transformation of your marriage. Every end is not a period. It's not a full stop. It is a transformation into the next evolution of our being. So just because you are no longer married doesn't mean you've stopped existing. You have transformed into a new human being who can integrate that experience now and add it to her resume and add it to her repertoire. What you are going through and the way you are growing and the courage it's taking from you is exponentially evolving you. And I often tell people who are divorced, you have no idea what strength and courage you have grown through this. You know, that non-divorced people will not have to go through, and they'll go through other challenges. We are so conditioned by the institution of marriage to last forever, and we need to burst that bubble. The next belief system I want you to work on is that you're going to live forever and you should live forever, and that your son is on his own path, on his own life journey. So at some point, if your life journey ends, then you're going to have to release him. You're going to have to let him go. So I think if you work on these two belief systems, because one is holding you in the past, one is taking you to the future, and it's driving you crazy, and your son is picking up on it.
Yes, you're right.
So
Yes.
I've given you something concrete to work on, and I want you to become aware, oh, she's right, I'm in the past, clinging to my fairy tale. Oh, I'm in the future, trying to control what I cannot control. Where am I now? I'm here right now. What can I control right now? What can I do right now? I tell every parent, the only moment of relevance is the moment in the now. How am I showing up right now? So I invite you to this challenge. I know it's incredibly hard, but if anyone can do it, you can, Edelyn.
Thank you so much. I love the idea of how am I showing up for Diego. I will think about that when I'm with him.
And guess what? You may have divorced your husband, but you know who you're marrying right now? A new you.
Yes, that's true. I didn't think of it that way.
It's a new marriage. It's a new story. So you get the freedom to write it as you will. Is it going to be optimistic, powerful, courageous, and beautiful? Or is it going to be resentful and bitter and grief-stricken? You're the writer. You're the narrator of your story now.
I love that. And I can show up for myself that way.
Yes. You're married to you. Hey,
Yeah.
that's an amazing marriage.
I can fall in love with myself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Edelyn.
Thank you, Dr. Shefali.
Coming up next, you're going to meet a father who is struggling with his own high conflict divorce situation and how it is affecting his teenage daughter. When we parent with our partners or our ex-partners, we often conflict with each other because one of us may come from a more traditional style of parenting and another from a more conscious style. I cannot tell you how many couples come to me with this complaint. Joining me now is Jason. Jason is struggling with a high conflict situation with his ex, and he's coping with how to best parent his teenage daughter, given that his ex and he are not only in conflict, but that they have different parenting styles. Hi, Jason. Tell us more about your struggle.
Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you guys. So a little bit of background. So my wife and I had gotten divorced in 2012, and we're essentially in a very high conflict relationship. If I wanted to go right, she wants to go left, no matter what that situation is, whether it benefits my daughter or not. It's just really to conflict with me. And our households are also very different. So my daughter splits time 50-50 with both my wife and I, or ex-wife and I. And when she's over there, she has a different parenting style than when she's here.
Let me ask you just quickly. So you've been separated since the past 10 years almost?
Yeah, it's going to be 13 years.
So your daughter has been going back and forth for 10 years?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's pretty incredible. So you've noticed that she picks up different behaviors there. When she comes back, you have to readjust. She has to readjust, and it causes all this upheaval. And plus, the two of you are not on the best terms either.
That's correct. And we're definitely not on the same page when it comes to anything.
Okay, so let's focus on you, the parent, because you're the only one we can change. You're the only one who has the power to make a difference, and you're the only one in front of me now. So I know in high conflict divorces, it's so, almost a knee-jerk reaction of ours to focus on what the other is doing, especially when we believe that they are so wrong. It's so natural to spend hours and hours and hours of our mental capacity, our space, our emotional bandwidth on what the other is doing. But I often tell people in a divorce, and I've been through a divorce myself, so I understand that habit, that tendency. But I often tell parents, and now I'm telling you, is all we can control is you. We have no control over the other person. And that's why we actually left, because we had no influence over the other person. We didn't see eye to eye. So every day is a reminder that you made the right decision to leave, right? So at least there's a little solace in that. But
Yes.
the only person we can control is you. So you now, tell me as honestly as you can, how do you feel when your daughter comes back? And what is your emotional energy like? What is your anxiety level like?
My anxiety level is usually pretty high. I'm unsure of what is coming back. I am unsure of, to be honest with you, part of me is like a little scared as to what I'm going to experience, because we do week over week. So for example, this week I don't have her. It's a lot less stressful. Next week I will get her back, and it becomes almost like going to work on a Sunday. Like, you get this anxiety, not that I don't want her here. It's just, I don't know what's coming back.
Okay.
And so that's where I definitely struggle.
Okay. So here's the thing that I'm going to challenge you with. You are overlaying your feelings about the ex onto the present situation. Can you see that you could be doing that, right? You are projecting that, oh my goodness, my daughter is going into that negative place and is going to come back with negative energy. I'll tell you why. Because imagine, and you have 2 older children, so you don't have to imagine that much. When our children grow older and they go live in a different country, a far-flung country you've never been to, Uzbekistan or India, or really, far from where you are, different culture. When they come home, you're going to have to assimilate. You're going to have to acculturate. You're going to have to deal with them no matter how they come back. Shaved hair, tattoos, blue hair, a new partner, 10 new partners. What I'm trying to tell you is we have to deal with our children moment by moment anyway. But when we associate that we're dealing with them with the extra baggage of that negative person, then we get anxious. See, you're anxious because you are convinced that it's because of that negative environment that she's coming back this way. What I'm trying to tell you is that negative environment could be a part of your child's life with or without the divorce, and you would have had to deal with it. They could come back from college totally different. They could come back from their next marriage totally different. They could come back from the schoolyard bully totally different. All I'm saying is that you're making yourself extra anxious because you're associating her coming back with the feelings of your ex-partner. And I'm offering you the perspective that our children could come back chaotic, disintegrated, messy, unruly, disrespectful, no matter who co-created that with them. You understand what I'm saying? No matter what the influence is, we still have to deal with our children brand new, moment by moment, and handle it with the most empowered energy.
That makes sense. I can see even thinking about some of the fear comes from my own fear of my ex.
Exactly.
Like, just having the conflict itself is just so difficult and so emotionally, like 10 weeks at work, like for 3 emails, and you're just drained. And then you expect that to come back. And then partly too is protecting her from that. Like, it's like, okay, how do I?
It's okay. This is very emotional. You're the man, you're the protector. You feel like you're failing your daughter.
Yep, a little bit.
And that's killing your energy. That's taking your power. That's creating a lot of inner turmoil. So this is going to be a turning point, what I'm going to tell you, if you're willing to take it in. How you deal with your ex, how you begin to understand that relationship, how you begin to cope with it and get the lessons is how your child is going to learn to cope with it. I cannot tell you how many countless marriages, even marriages, have issues with partners. And we all have to learn the unique psychology of the person we're in relationship with, whether divorced or married, whether it's our grandparents or our siblings. The sooner we realize the psychology we're dealing with and how to deal with that psychology and empower ourselves and not look at it as disempowering, you're going to build resilience in your child and teach her, hey, grandpa, auntie, sibling, your best friend, mom, dad, they have these issues. This is how we deal with it. Matter of fact, neutral. But because you're so triggered by your ex, she takes you to a place of fear. You panic, you get disempowered. And therefore, when your daughter comes back, you're already on half tank. You're already crippled. And we need to turn that around.
I can definitely see that. I definitely feel that. I mean, even if I get a text or anything from my ex, it's like, oh, here we go. Like, it's like, all right, let's put that away and not deal with that. It's almost like procrastination when any of that stuff comes up. It's like, I can't deal with that right now.
Yes.
And then knowing that my daughter's coming back, all this fun, stuff that comes with that. It's like, oh, I wonder what comes with this.
Yes. So you have to see how you're tangling them both up, and we need to detangle it. Your feelings about your ex are taking you to empty. With that emptiness, of course, you feel depleted when your daughter comes back. Your daughter picks up on that energy. She is now confused and chaotic. She's not being empowered. I always say we need just one caregiver in our lives who's got it together. Just one. We need one person who is super powerful, super confident, super abundant, super conscious. Now, are you being that? No, you're not, because you're being triggered by her. And I can guarantee you that you're putting on this freezer mask. I call it the freezer mask. And it's typically the mask most men put on when they first encounter conflict. Then they may become a fighter. You're freezing. You're becoming paralyzed. And if you look back on your life, you may observe that this is a pattern in your life where you freeze and you don't want to deal with it.
When we got divorced, it was a giant turning point for me. It was almost like an awakening. Like, I didn't all of a sudden learned all this stuff. Like, I didn't experience this while we were married. We got divorced, and all of a sudden it was like her and I, not just her, but changes happened. And it was eye-opening and scary, and that's where all this anxiety. And I would agree that freeze, that absolutely comes in. I, at sometimes, will jump in the pool and do the fighter aspect of it, but I would definitely say majority, probably 90% of the time, it's that freezer, frozen.
Yes.
Don't want to deal with this. Let's procrastinate. Let's stay away.
Yes. So Jason, and I want everyone listening, it's not the person on the outside. It is not the trigger on the outside. It's our pattern that comes from within that is the answer. That's where the solution lies. You're looking for the solution in her or them or it. It's never on the outside. Your freezer pattern, that's what we need to disrupt. And once you disrupt that pattern and truly empower yourself to handle this very difficult situation, you will teach your daughter how to be empowered and navigate the waters. Your daughter will learn, but you're not showing her what to learn. Right now, you're just telling her to be terrorized and to be afraid and to run away. Every human being has difficult moments in their lives, be it an ex-partner, be it a terminal illness, be it a change in job, be it, the death of a parent. Life's unexpected turns are part of life. How we handle those turns and twists is what our children will absorb. They will be resilient if they see us modeling resilience. And right now, you're freezing. So you have some work to do around what your partner takes you to. Your partner's, intimidation or whatever you perceive as intimidation scares you so much that you become immobile, paralyzed, frozen, yes. And now your daughter's not learning what she needs to learn. So the best protection, right? You said, I want to protect my daughter. You cannot protect her from her future. You cannot protect her from herself. You cannot protect her from her pain in her destiny. But what you can protect her from is your frozenness, from your panic attack, from your crippled anxiety. You can protect her from that. And your transformation, your empowerment in the moment as a man who understands that some people are difficult and it's okay. We can embrace the difficulty. We can handle it if we have a positive outlook, those weeks that she spends with you will be the turning points in her life. You have a lot of power in you that you have relinquished to this ex-partner, because in your head, this ex-partner is more powerful than you, and you're allowing what you perceive as negative energy to be more powerful than your energy. In fact, you're not even showing up because you are paralyzed. So where is Jason's positive energy? Where is Jason's empowered energy? Where is Jason's compassionate, worthy self? That's what your daughter needs from you. And you're not giving her that. So forget what the ex is not giving. Your ex will say 10 things that you're not giving. Who cares? All we can care about is what we are doing in the present moment. How am I showing up right now? And when you move from frozen to conscious, I don't want you to become a fighter. I don't want you to become a fixer. I want you to move into a peaceful, empowered, conscious human who's made peace with his ex in your own mind. She doesn't have to make peace with you for you to make peace with her. You tell your daughter, I've made peace with this situation. We're going to do the best we can when you are with me. And I'm going to show you that life is beautiful and we are courageous and we are powerful and we are worthy and we can handle this.
Yeah. Listening to that one statement where you said, I believe that my ex is more powerful than me, I think that's probably like the key point that I 100% struggle with. For whatever reason, don't know why. Every time I'm around her, I get nervous, shake, freak out. Everything that I thought starts to disappear. All that anxiety comes in. And so it's like, I have that feeling of,
I hear you. I hear you. And that is the key. You have relinquished your power to your ex. And then when your daughter comes home, it's almost like you're threatened by her because she was with that energy. And this has to do with your little boy from your childhood, 100%. And you can work with a coach to unravel that. You become a little boy scared of his parent. That's the recreation. You're recreating a trauma from your childhood that isn't here anymore. Your ex is an ex for a reason. And she has her own issues, her own struggles. We need to have compassion for her and release her. But the reason you can't is because you're rendered helpless. You're rendered frozen like you were when you were a child, 100%. You're recreating an old dynamic and putting it in the present moment, but it doesn't exist in the present moment. But that's your healing. That's your invitation to work with a coach or a therapist to go deeper and free yourself from this fear. Can you imagine a life where you're not afraid of your ex anymore?
I think that would translate to way more than just her. There's a lot of things I think that I have that same type of energy for now that I kind of break it down. She is just one aspect of it, and that's more or less because of our connection with my daughter and the two older kids.
Yes.
But that's just kind of the surface to me, because I can relate that to a lot of other things in my life.
There you go. So the issue is not with your ex. The issue is with your pattern of freezing, becoming terrified and paralyzed and wanting to run away. It's that little boy that is showing up in the present moment. And when that little boy grows up into the beautiful man I know you are capable of being, I'm looking at you right now and I see only a caring, sensitive, beautiful man with a beautiful heart. When you raise that little boy up, you will show up for your daughter. This is the invitation. This is the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All those chords, they all hit something that's very deep that I definitely need to address and that I definitely struggle with.
And, what I see in front of me is a man who is not afraid to be vulnerable. The fact that you came here today shows me that you're actually not so scared. You are capable. And this is going to be your growing edge. It's painful, but growing edges are always painful. I thank you for your vulnerability. I honor your tears. And I know, and I'm fully confident that you are going to raise that little boy into the most conscious father ever. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
When we go through painful transitions our struggle is not only with our own emotions, but how our children will deal with theirs. I often tell parents that they cannot protect their children from every of life's twists and turns. The best they can do is show up in their wholeness, in their abundance, and in their empowerment. And parents don't realize how valuable, how important, how crucial it is for them to manage their own emotional states during difficult times, because that is what will make or break their children's relationship to that event. Not the event itself, but how we as parents navigate ourselves through it. If this episode resonated with you, share it with others and leave a review. Don't forget to subscribe either. And I will see you on the next episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. Parenting and You with Dr. Shefali is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, psychotherapeutic, coaching, healthcare, or other qualified professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment.